This is the Tuesday, January 17th special board meeting of the Montgomery Independent School District Board of Trustees. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Ms. Alcantar, are there any public comments? There are no public comments, so the board will go into closed session for the reasons outlined on our agenda. We'll return shortly.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We are returning from the special closed session of the Montgomery Independent School District Board of Trustees meeting. There are no action items to take from closed session, so I would like to adjourn the closed session meeting. All right. This is the January 17th regular meeting of the Montgomery Independent School District Board of Trustees. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, Dr. Morrison, I think the next item up for us is special recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. And we have a number of special recognitions, but I believe, Justin, we're going to start off with recognizing the Board of Trustees, correct?
Good evening, Board of Trustees. It is School Board Appreciation Month across the state of Texas. The theme is Forward Together, and so it was fitting that our community wanted to come and be together with you to celebrate you tonight. So we have some very, very special members of our community who wanted to join us tonight to make a few more remarks and present you with some items. So first, I'd like to introduce Ms. Stephanie Johnson from the Lake Conroe Area Republican Women.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Stephanie Johnson, and I proudly serve as the president of the Lake Conroe Area Republican Women. I'm joined here tonight by Stephanie Holderfield, Tina Forty, Carol Parsons, Brigida Groves, and Stephanie Buick, also members of LCARW. We wanted to take time tonight during School Board Appreciation Month to attend this meeting and thank you for your outstanding service. As individuals engaged in both local and state government, we believe it is now more important than ever that locally elected officials are working closely with their communities and leading with integrity and transparency. We are extremely proud of the work of the Montgomery ISD Board of Trustees and the qualities that each of you has exemplified since taking office. Seeing the amazing work in Montgomery ISD over the last few years and the way each of you has handled your important roles as school board trustees makes us very proud of this school district and the work you are doing to grow future citizens of our great state and nation. While many school districts around the country are currently dealing with extremely polarizing issues, your leadership as a group of 7, along with Dr. Morrison as superintendent, has displayed a true unified commitment to putting students and teachers first while being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. You have worked together to ensure transparency, tackled the challenges of a pandemic, and you have continued to move us forward as Montgomery County is growing faster than ever. We personally witnessed the way Montgomery ISD, under your leadership, held a very successful bond campaign. The ways in which you educated the community about school finance and encouraged community involvement through the entire process is to be commended. Your commitment was evident as you were visible in the community and made time to answer all questions and concerns that came from community members. As the president of Lake Conroe Area Republican Women, and along with these women here with me tonight, we know the time that is required to stay committed to a volunteer position. We want to truly thank you for the time and service you give and your commitment to our growing community. Montgomery ISD is attractive to families looking for a great place to raise and educate their children, and we believe your leadership has played a significant role in this. Our prayers are with each of you as you continue your important work. We encourage this board to continue to work as a unified team, supporting Montgomery ISD students, teachers, and families. On behalf of Lake Conroe Area Republican Women, we would like to show our appreciation to the Montgomery ISD Board for your support in our national motto project by donating an In God We Trust poster to each of you. And again, thank you for your service to Montgomery ISD, students, teachers, parents, and taxpayers.
Thank you.
And then we'll do a photo with all the groups once everybody's had an opportunity to make their remarks.
Thank y'all so much.
And next we have our principal of Madeley Ranch.
Just in 1 second. Thank y'all, President Johnson and ladies from Lake Conroe Area Republican Women. Greatly appreciate y'all's continued partnership and everything that y'all do for our community as well. So I want to reciprocate the thanks. Sorry, Justin.
Next we have our principal of Madeley Ranch Elementary, Miss Shelby Smith.
I thought maybe the noise makers were for me, but they're not. No. All right. Hi, guys. Good evening. I'm Shelby Smith, the very proud principal at Madeley Ranch Elementary School. It is an honor to stand here tonight during School Board Appreciation Month to publicly thank you for the ways that you serve and lead Montgomery ISD. As a campus leader, the tone and direction set for your school starts with the leadership team that you have in place. The same can be said for this entire school district. You, as the Board of Trustees, set the tone for our administrators, teachers, support staff, and students, and I know that I am speaking for each of my colleagues when I say thank you for your amazing leadership. The last few years have presented historically unique challenges for schools across the country. Because of your strong and unified leadership as a board alongside Dr. Morrison, Montgomery ISD students and teachers have thrived. The positive ways in which you have come together alongside the community over the last few years to set district goals, prioritize staff compensation with sound fiscal management, oversee the creation of a new strategic plan, and call for a successful, forward-thinking bond election has provided direction and leadership that is necessary for sustained success in Montgomery ISD. You have set a high standard of excellence from the top. It is evident how you appreciate the work of so many with your focus on the district's financial priorities to enhance teacher pay. I know the staff at MRE has appreciated your continued efforts, and in times in which other districts are struggling to hire teachers, it is wonderful to work in a place where we know our trustees truly care about the people who serve our students every day. The work that has been done to increase transparency has been amazing. I've never been involved in so many committees and surveys, but the opportunities that have been made for parents and staff to share input is not only noticeable, but very appreciated. Everything from the strategic plan to the bond election and calendar process has improved district processes to increase this transparency. It's clear that you are a board that wants to lead by listening first, and that is a very rare quality in leadership today. Thank you for listening, being present, and for all the time you put in to truly making an impact on our students and teachers. We cannot achieve our goal of being the premier school district in Texas without having premier leadership from our Board of Trustees, and each of you has exemplified the qualities necessary to continue moving our district in the right direction. On behalf of all MISD principals, we want to thank each one of you for your outstanding leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
And for our trustees, each of our principals donated some swag, and so you have a variety of different things. It's a very heavy thing that's in your basket. Justin, would you like to share where that came from and what it is?
It is a metal cutout of the Lake Creek lion that was actually produced by the students over at Lake Creek.
Yeah, so a little heavy, but very nice. And over at Madeley Ranch, we have a very nice water bottle, so thank you, Shelby, for that. But very nice swag, and so you can all display your school pride no matter what school you're visiting.
We do have another principal here. I see Mr. Noah Hollander, our principal at Montgomery High School, is here. Next, we have, I think she is Montgomery ISD's biggest fan, or self-proclaimed biggest fan, our leader of our local chamber, Miss Shannon Reed.
I am, in fact, self-proclaimed Montgomery ISD's biggest fan, and I am the executive director of Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce, Shannon Reed, and it is my privilege and pleasure to serve our community, but most importantly, to be here tonight and say thank you for your service to our community on behalf of all of the businesses. So I'm going to wing it. I don't have a paper, I'm sorry. But I can tell you that from the business perspective, economic development and the growth of this community is profound in the impact that it has on how successful these businesses will be. And the flagship for any person moving and coming to a community is going to be that quality of life. And if we're looking for school-age families, we're talking about a school district. And I can assure you that MISD is the flagship calling card for people that are coming to this area. I have conversations with new residents all the time, and Montgomery ISD is listed at the top for the reasons that they come here. And I say all of that to say that it has everything to do with your leadership, your vision, that you help to support and empower all of the teachers, the faculty and staff, all the way down throughout this organization to make sure that we have the quality of life that we need here for the families that we hope to welcome as they're growing into this community, and that supports our businesses. I had the unique pleasure of working on the PAC to support the bond. That's a one and done, by the way. For me, anyway. You guys may have another bond, but let's call on somebody else. No, I got it. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. But I had to say, and I said this to Matt, and I said this to Dr. Morrison many times, it was easy for us to push that bond and talk about it in the community, mainly because of the 18 months of work that you all had put in going into that event. It had already had the work behind it for a strategic plan, for the transparency, for the communication into the district and into our community with business leaders, with families alike. So it was an easy job in that respect, and we were so excited to celebrate with you with 3 wins at that election night. But our community is looking forward to the exciting partnerships in the business areas with your vision. So we're thankful for you and the leadership that you've provided. So we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
And then last, but certainly not least, we have some Girl Scouts who wanted to come say a few words for you.
Are they bringing cookies?
I believe so.
Get some Thin Mints.
I know, you already had cookies.
They do have the best cookies. They do.
Samoas? Well, you can't call them that anymore, can you? They have to call something else.
Hello, Montgomery ISD Board. My name is Natalie, and I'm a Girl Scout cadet with Troop 107166 from Oak Hills Junior High. Being a Girl Scout is one of the things I am most proud of. I get to help my community have cool new experiences and make some awesome friends along the way. Being able to hang out with younger groups and read them bedtime stories while camping has been one of my favorite experiences so far.
My name is Harper, and on behalf of all the Girl Scouts in Montgomery, we thank you. You make MISD a place where girls can challenge themselves, be confident in who they are, and make our community and the world a better place.
My name is Riley. We brought you each some Girl Scout cookies as a sweet little token of your appreciation for all your support of Girl Scouts. Thank you.
Y'all keep doing that. Every one of us will sign up for another term.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So if we can ask our Lake Conroe Republican women, our administrators, know we're going to bring you up as well, so you get to accompany Shelby, Shannon, and our Girl Scouts. Would you please come up and take a picture with our board so we can recognize this amazing group of trustees?
Carry our sign.
Yeah, let's take our signs.
Would hold your In God We Trust, and a couple of you could bring your basket of goodies. Like if you could kind of do a mix.
Here.
Stronger than me.
Sure, I can take it for you. Oh, yeah, where are the cookies?
Got it. Noah, come in and sit with Shelby, if that's okay.
Find your window.
Or you can come down the front, Shelby. There you go. Okay, ready? Everybody, 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Oh, were we,
Those are my second favorite though. Got it? Yep.
Guys, I want to say again a sincere thank you. I want to especially thank the Girl Scout troop for being here, and the Lake Conroe Area Republican women, and as well as our principals for everything y'all do every day. I think I speak
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. Sorry, Shannon. My good angel on my shoulder is keeping me in line over here. I want to say that it takes a community to do what a school district needs to do to help the young ladies and men of our school district grow, and it takes a partnership. I think I speak on behalf of the board when I say that it is truly the honor of our lives to serve this community. I think this board has come a long way, and we look forward to what's next for us. I left my In God We Trust placard on the front because I would like to make a donation. I'd like to donate mine to this room. And I will not be donating my Girl Scout cookies. Those will be mine, so thank y'all very much. Mr. Marino, what else we got?
Trustees, Dr. Morrison, we also have a very special group of individuals here this evening that we'd like to recognize. Last Friday was one of always my favorite days in Montgomery ISD, and that is our Grant Express Day of the Montgomery ISD Education Foundation.
Yeah.
And as Ms. Smith eloquently stated it, you can't be premier without a premier board. You also can't be premier without a premier education foundation. And we are so grateful for these individuals. I have the privilege of sitting in on their monthly meetings, and each of them volunteers their time selflessly and puts in so much work for the kids in our school district. And that their Super Bowl, I call it, their culminating event is really that Grant Express Day, and they donated $64,000 to educators across the district. And those grants are intended to fund innovative ideas and creative educational tools for our teachers. So we are so appreciative of the Education Foundation, and we look forward to the spring soiree. I'd like to introduce each of them here tonight. So stand up and when I call your name, and then we'll do a photo. We have our Executive Director, Ms. Tiffany Ortiz. We have the Board President, Mr. Philip Moore. And I guess it is the immediate past President, Mr. Jim Dossie. Is he still here? The incoming president, Ms. Shannon Reed. We have Ms. Natalie Kelly. Ms. Rebecca McDonald. Christy Tart. And Sarah Ray. So once again, we are truly thankful for our amazing Education Foundation.
Grant Express was a fun day, so thank y'all for all you do, and we're looking forward to some of those projects that you guys funded.
They brought their big check.
Yeah, that's
Get a big check.
Get that in the drive-through, Mike.
Mike, you might just want to stay up there.
Mike's getting some exercise. He's like, hide me behind. Oh, that's. Here you go. Look at you guys. Perfect. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Got it. Thank you.
Dr. Fuller, before they scoot out, I just want to personally thank our Montgomery ISD Foundation. As our school district has continued to focus on making improvements and get better and better, the parallel with the foundation has also been very, very apparent and recognized, and it really is a foundation that's always asking how can we take the gap between the things that we have to do for our students with our resources, and what are some of the things we'd love to be able to do for our students and staff, and they make so many things happen, and I really do appreciate their leadership and their service, and it is a gift to have a foundation support us the way our Montgomery IC Foundation does, so thank you.
So can I say one thing? So sense of community is really important. We have a very, the Republican Women's and Foundation, the Chamber, all of the folks in this room, in our district, the school district as a whole. It's very rare to have, in this environment we're in today in this country, to have a community that we have right here. And I was just thinking as we're going through all this, I appreciate everything that you've said to us, but I also appreciate all of you. And this community is very special.
Well said, well said. But wait, there's more.
We have one very special final recognition tonight. Dr. Morrison Board, there are over 5 million students enrolled in public schools in Texas, and 5 were recently selected to serve on a panel, and one of those was from right here in Montgomery ISD. So I'd like to have Miss Jen Ellis come up and introduce to you Bella Fiaschetti, who recently received a very special opportunity.
Good evening, members of the board. This evening, I would like to recognize an MISD student who was one of 5 Texas students selected to participate on a student panel at the Texas Association of Gifted and Talented Annual State Conference. The student panel spoke about their intersectional educational experiences in the state of Texas and how these experiences have helped and shaped them as fellow citizens. So we had one of our very own MHS GT students, Bella Fiaschetti, who did an outstanding job representing MISD at the conference. So I would like to call Bella up to the front, and she has just a few words to say.
Hi, my name is Bella Fiaschetti, and I had the incredible opportunity to speak at the TAGIT conference. I was not only able to share my GT educational journey, but I was able to connect with the other panelists on what their experience was like in their school district, and hopefully we provided insight to the teachers who are listening. I'm super grateful to have had this opportunity, and I cannot wait to see where Mrs. Jen Ellis will take this program.
Hold on a second, can't get out here without a picture.
Right.
And I think I see Mom back there as well, so
Come on, Mom.
we'll have someone take a picture for you. Come on up, and Jen, you too, please.
Jen, you're in the picture too. So I'll just send you the photo.
All right, Mike, that's the last time you have to get up, I promise, until we're done.
I'm breaking a sweat.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now the fun stuff.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all. And
Yeah.
we'll move on into our agenda tonight. Ms. Alcantar, are there any public comments? There are no registered public comments. We will proceed to consent agenda. Board members, is there a board member who wishes to pull an item from consent agenda for discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as approved?
I'll
Or
make
as
a motion,
presented? Ms. Turner's made a motion.
approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, and is there a second? Mr. Kirby, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstained? The consent agenda carries unanimously. We are on to action items tonight. 6A, consider approval of investment policy as presented, which aligns with Goal 3.
And so we'll be asking Chris Lynn, our Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations, to present the action items for both 6A and 6B.
Yeah, so we're going to start the new year with just a reduced portion of Chris Lynn. So
Happy New Year.
Good, Happy New Year. This, action item 6A is an annual requirement. We are required to bring to this board for your review the district investment policy, the investment firms and investment training sources. So all of that information is presented in your packet. We would ask for your approval of those items.
Board members, are there any questions? I have one, Mr. Lynn. This is essentially establishing you and Dr. Morrison as the investment officers. Any concerns, risk, or anything you're looking forward in the next couple of months, years?
We are not like normal investors, so everything that we are allowed to do is very safe and conservative. So no we are not in the market, so to speak. All of our stuff is secure, so no worries there.
Okay. Other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the investment policy as presented for alignment with goal 3.
All right. Mr. Hopkins, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Porton, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstained? That motion carries unanimously. Item 6B, we're going to be talking about design development for Creekside Elementary and Lake Creek High School.
Yeah, it's a shame that this item is going to happen so fast and it took us so long to get here, but just as a reminder, when we first, after the bond was passed and we start the design process, we started with kind of a conceptual design for what is now Creekside Elementary and the addition to Lake Creek High School, 2 projects that were included in our 2022 bond election. From that, we moved into schematic design and presented it to this board and received approval into design development. We are here tonight to mark the completion of the design development phase of Creekside Elementary and the addition to Lake Creek High School. We are asking for your approval. That approval means that we continue with the next phase of the project, which is the formation of construction documents, so that we can start to formally bid these projects, ultimately to start construction, hopefully in May of this year. So with this approval, that would allow us to continue on this journey. We have already shared with you the floor plans, the site plans, material selections. Assuming that this board chooses to approve this tonight, I'm sure Justin and his communications team will start sharing site plan and rendering, building renderings with our community to build that excitement and show the progress that we've made so far.
Board members, we've sat with this information for a little bit. Do you have any questions? I'm excited about what I've seen. All the information that we're reviewing is available, and as Mr. Lynn said, Mr. Marino will make it available here shortly. But one question I have is, Chris, did you just sit down one day on the back of a napkin and draw this up and say, hey, Huckabee, this looks great? Is that how this went down?
That would probably be easier at times, but that is not how we do things here in Montgomery ISD. So as the many community members and community representatives said this evening, I think you heard a common word, transparency. We also can add collaboration to those statements. And so working with Ms. Shelby Smith, who is also kind of doubled as the principal lead for this elementary, Creekside Elementary project, and Mr. Tim Williams and his staff at Lake Creek High School for their addition. We've had numerous design meetings, received lots of input. It's been a collective, collaborative process to get us to this point.
I'm excited about the building. It looks wonderful for both of these efforts. So. Other questions?
I've got not a question but a statement, and it goes back to your transparency, and I want to thank Huckabee and their group. Great work. I mean, the floor, everything that we could question or have any doubts about, y'all have made clear, and the fabulous presentation you did during closed session. I mean, that's, that made it top notch and good communication. We appreciate it. So.
Other questions? All right, is there a motion for item 6B, the approval of design development, Creekside Elementary and Lake Creek High School?
I'll move to approve the design development for Creekside and Lake Creek High School as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Robb, thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstained, both of those elements carry. So thank you all for all the work to getting here.
Dr. Fuller, just before we move off of this item, I just want to remind the board and our community, each board meeting we do provide an update on our bond progress. We did not do that for this bond meeting because we had a late December meeting and a somewhat earlier January meeting, and there was an extended winter break between there, so there just wasn't a lot to report. But for any citizen or community member that wants to get information about the bond, every project updates on that, what's in queue, what's happening next. what has been spent, what's remaining to be spent, are we below projections, under projections, over projections on any project? All of that information is available on our website under Bond 2022.
Awesome. Great reminder. Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Information items now for item 7A, the first reading of Policy Update 120. This will be just some general approaches that we have to do regularly. So see Mr. Summers, Dr. Summers.
Actually, Dr. Summers is coming up for 7B. So Dr. Fuller, 7A, as you know, our state board association annually, almost monthly, provides updates to us in terms of board policies, model board policies, to make sure we're in alignment with federal, state statutes and legal statutes. There are a number of different recommendations for board policy that were presented. My staff looked through all of them. If there were any ones that needed particular information or extended explanation, we provided those to you in your board packets. So tonight is the first reading of those, available to anyone in our community that wants to review them, and then we will ask you to actually vote on them at your board workshop on January the 31st.
All right. Any questions? It's fairly straightforward. So we'll move on to item 7B. You'll see that you'll see this at a future agenda item. So, taper report.
So we have Dr. Summers, our Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and Dr. Weatherly and Ms. Fitzpatrick, our Assistant Superintendents of Elementary and Secondary Education. There are two things we want to do tonight. One is required, which is reporting by TEA of our progress towards academic performance with state regulation and standards. And then also, as you know, not only do we present information to our board with different department updates, but we also present information on the various goals of our strategic plan. In December, we did a Goal 2 update with our school police. Thank you, Chief, back there. And tonight we're going to do an update on Goal 1, which is academic performance. So, Dr. Summers.
Excellent. Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, board members. So yes, tonight we are going to comply with Texas law that asks us to share a district annual report every year with the board and our community. So all of the long report that's in your packet, 1,700 pages almost, that will be posted on the district website within a couple of weeks.
We have a slide for every page tonight, correct?
Yeah, I have a slide for every page.
I just want to thank y'all for the weekend read.
That's right. So buckle up. But that report will be put out on our district website within a couple of weeks. So we're required to go over the annual report. And so there are about 7 sections in it. So I have a slide for each of those sections, just give you an overview. And then a piece of that is we'll review Goal 1 of our strategic plan. You'll remember back in October I was here, I gave us an update on sort of how we did on STAR and some other indicators. So I'll reference that, but then we'll also just sort of walk through Goal 1, and Mark and Carrie will also kind of highlight a few things as they relate to elementary or secondary education. So here are the 7 sections that we are required to report out. So a piece of that is the TAPER report, the Texas Academic Performance Report. And just like everything in education in the state of Texas, things are always changing and there's lots of acronyms. And actually the TAPER report is a report you can run now, but they actually don't put out a full TAPER report anymore. It is now the TPRS. It is the Texas Performance Reporting System. So just when you get comfortable with TAPER, they change it to TPRS. And that is just a website that basically creates HTML files of everything, and then you can print off, if you want, a PDF report, which is what I included in there. So I'll highlight what that TAPER report has in it in just a moment. Section 2 of the annual report, again, nearly 1,700-page report for our district. Section 2 talks about the PEIMS financial standards report. Again, that's just a report that the state generates, and I'll highlight that in a moment. Section 3 is the district accreditation status. You'll see a slide for that in a moment, but they're not issuing an accreditation status this year because of COVID and other things that have happened over the last couple of years. Then there's the campus performance objectives that we're required to share for our district. We use our CIPs and our DIP for that. And then there's a report on violent and criminal incidences in the district and on the campuses. And then lastly is the student performance in post-secondary institutions, which is a report that's generated for us. We don't, and it's reflective of our district as well as the districts across the state. And so we just print that off and include that in there. Currently, that report has not been updated. So the most recent on that is the 18-19 school year. We're looking for the 19-20 school year. So once that gets submitted by the Texas Higher Education Board, I can then go back and change the 1,700 page. It'll be a few more pages, and I'll update that, and then we'll repost that and let folks know. But right now, that report has not been released as of today, as of this afternoon when I looked. So let me give you a quick update. The TAPER report, here's the things that are in it. It's a pretty, out of everything in the 1,700 page document that we're to post for our annual, this is a really useful one. It's put out by TEA. And it has, based off any PEIMS and student assessment data that the state's generated for the last year. And again, we can publish it as a PDF. It resides now as an HTML or a website or a web page file. The things that are on that TAPER report are accountability ratings, which that's what I went over with everybody in October. Special education determination status, distinctions, star performance. So all of those things, CCMR status, those are the things that I went over in October with the board. Other things that are in there that are really helpful for board members, community members, are things related to student enrollment, student information. You can look at demographics of the district and our community. There's also staff information. You can look at total staff. You can look at the classifications and the sort of the breakdown by degrees and certifications. The one thing that is kind of surprising when folks look at that, though, is they'll take a look at, they'll go straight over to like the staff salary and they'll look at those numbers, but those numbers they'll be higher than what, say, our starting salary might be, and that's because we're required to report also like benefits and those kinds of things. So occasionally I'll get an email or a call from a community member or somebody, or even a teacher will be like, why is it listed? I don't take home that much. I don't make that much on my salary. And that's, again, because it includes benefits and those kinds of things. And then also program information. So student enrollment by GT or dual language or CTE programs. So all of those things, a lot of them that I report out to you from time to time are included on that. So it's useful, especially for folks who aren't in the day in and day out sort of business of school. It helps them to understand that. Section 2 is the PEIMS Financial Standards Report. Again, I just generally go in, have our PEIMS coordinator run that for us, and it gives us the breakdown of how we spent money as a district and how each campus spent their money. So you'll see revenues, expenditures, disbursements broken down by object codes and all those kinds of things, so you can see where the money was spent for the district and for the campuses as they were reported. So that's useful information as well. Section 3 of the annual report is, again, this district accreditation. So basically the state says, we're going to take a look at your academic accountability, we're going to take a look at your financial accountability reports, and then we're going to look at something called the results-driven accountability, which is they take a look at your special education population, see sort of where they're coded, how many are mainstreamed, how many are pulled out of class, how are you using your resources, and we get an RDA rating. So they take all of those things, lump them together, and then they come up with an overall district accreditation status. But as you can see in red up there, the commissioner decided not to assign any status to any district for the 22-23 school year because, again, you've got some issues with STAR scores and just sort of the process through kind of coming out of COVID and coming out of the sort of the strange mix of structures of learning for the last couple of years. So probably next year we will see an accreditation status for this section. So when you go to that part of the 1,700 pages, there's nothing there for accreditation. I did print off the page that says the commissioner won't rate anybody. For section 4, just so it's there, it's noted, I didn't skip it. Section 4 is the campus performance objectives. So this is really probably the part that takes up the most of our annual report. So in that section are all the campus improvement plans and the district improvement plans. So we print those off. Those are also posted on every campus webpage. And so folks can look at the campus improvement plan. Those get periodically updated throughout the year. We don't post the updated ones on the website, but certainly parents or community members can reach out to the schools or the district and request to look at the campus improvement plans and see where they're at. We are also supposed to keep a hard copy at every campus and at central office if folks want to look at that. So that's the way in which we track campus performance objectives. So all of the campus improvement plans are included in that 1,700-page annual report. Here's Section 5. Section 5 is the report on violent and criminal incidences. So we have to, the state of Texas by TEC Section 39.306 asks us to report out in the annual report specific felony reports on a campus. They're not all of them. So invariably, when I've shared out this report with the community or with the board, it's like, well, is this the only thing that's happened? So you'll only see 4 campuses, all 4 of our secondary campuses, listed in that report, and there's not very many. And so when you look at it, you might say, well, Chris, not much is happening. This is great. And while it is great that we don't have very many on that report, the annual report only asks us to report out certain felony cases that happen in the district. There are other things that happen, misdemeanors and those kinds of things, and even if they're not felonies or misdemeanors, they might be just discipline codes within our district, and those are recorded, but we don't have to report those out. And so that's why you only see 4 schools and you see a small number, because those are the specific things that the state of Texas asks us to report out in the annual report, if that makes sense. Section 6 is your student performance in post-secondary institutions. This is the report I mentioned. We are beholden to the THECB to generate that report, and it's always very latent. So in fact, we're waiting on the 1920 report. We're in year 22-23. So that's how long it takes, but that is looking at and tracking students that graduate from Montgomery ISD, and then do they complete their coursework? Do they get a certification, associates, bachelors, those kinds of things? And so that's why it's a little bit later on that. And again, they report that out, and then we're supposed to just share with you so that you know sort of how students that attended or graduated from MISD schools did. Not that we can control a lot after they leave our schools, but that is something that TEA wants us to be able to report out. And then lastly, Section 7 is just a good old glossary of TAPER terms. So if you're new to the world of alphabet soup and education, the TAPER report glossary that's included there will help you know what all the acronyms are and all those kinds of things. So before I jump off onto reviewing Goal 1, which is way more exciting and fun, questions about that TAPER or the district annual report, those 7 sections. Did you read all 1,700 pages over the weekend?
I hit the high points.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. So it is voluminous. So again, we're required to post it on the district's website within 2 weeks of the board meeting, so we'll do that. And
mostly when a community member asks me a question, what is this number, what is that number, most of us turn them to TAPER. This is the main kind of data point for people. So.
And when we post that, I'll put my name by it and whatnot, so that if any community or any parents or whatnot have any questions, they can reach out to me. I'll be glad to walk them through what's in the report and what it means. All right. And again, there's a slide that just kind of indicates that, so we'll post that on the district site so they can reach out to me. So we want to talk a little bit about Goal 1, academic achievement. If you remember in October when I came and shared how we did on STAR and other indicators, we were doing really, really well. Goal 1 has 5 different objectives that we're looking at. The first objective takes a look at how we're improving academic growth as pretty much measured by STAR. So all of the reading and math across all the way up to the end of course exams, science, social studies, those kinds of things. And again, we're measuring with objective 1, growth, academic growth, not just performance. Objective 2 takes a look at how we're dealing with performance gaps and closing gaps between various subgroups in our district. Objective 3 takes a look at students' college, career, military readiness, so the CCMR indicator. And then objective 4 and 5 take a look at things that are not STAR and EOC. Those are our pre-K through third grade reading and math readiness scores. For third grade, we can look at STAR and whatnot, but we also have some other internal measures and indicators that we take a look at as well. And so when we get to objective 3, 4, and 5, I'll invite Carrie and Mark to come up and share a little bit about that. As a reminder, we like to include this slide in Montgomery ISD. The state measures academic, at least the minimum academic success that they're tracking as approaches. That's that purple one, the second column. It means they're likely to succeed, but they will need significant intervention. Our goal in Montgomery ISD is meets or masters. And so all of the goals that we set in, or are the targets that we set in goal number 1 for the strategic plan, are all looking at meets and masters. We have a bar that's higher than what the state minimum is, and very encouraged as you look at the slides that I share here in a minute, we're doing quite well in setting those goals and then achieving a lot of them. If you remember back when I came in October, we talked about those goals, and I highlighted that 3 of the 5 goals we had already met, and in fact, we had to go back and recalibrate. And so we went into the strategic plan, and we sort of bumped up our expectations because we did so well coming out of COVID. And so we're also still in that process of those internal mechanisms of pre-K through primarily second grade, but also third grade, looking at reading and math readiness. We're still setting some of those objectives and some of those targets. We'll need to get this year's data before we can firm those up, but we have adjusted some of those. And then you'll also remember I shared all of these tables with you that basically compared Montgomery ISD to the state, and we were just essentially running laps around the state. We were doing a great job meeting expectations and hitting that meets or above standard, and so we're really proud of that. This was that slide that kind of also tracked the cohorts. So the longer that we have the students, the better they were doing. We did have just a couple of areas where we need to focus in on, and we're doing that, but by and large, our students from year to year are continuing to grow and show a lot of success. So what we want to do now is just briefly highlight the KPIs that are in Goal 1. And so I'm going to show you, it's small, so I'll just give you a quick summary of what you can do. You can go to the website under our strategic plan, and you can see each of the KPIs. You just click on KPI, say 1.1.1, and it'll expand and show you these tables. I just kind of pulled them from the website. And the big takeaway from this is we set some targets, and then where you see the green or yellow boxes, that is how we did on towards the target based on last year's performance. And then to the right are the goals that we have for this year, next year, and the following year after that, so for the next 3 years. Basically, if you see green, it means we met or exceeded our own internal targets, as well as the state. Our targets were always above the state. If you see yellow, it's because we didn't quite meet our own internal targets on our strategic plan, but we are still above the state. You will notice on all of these, you're not going to see any red. Red we reserved for we didn't meet the state's minimum or ours, but we're all green or yellow. So that's what those colors mean. And so when you go to each of the KPIs on the website, you'll notice that to the right are all the adjusted, recalibrated targets. So we did go through since the last time I talked with you and recalibrated and sort of upped the ante and set some new targets for us in each of these KPIs. The 1.1 through 1.3 is basically taking a look at STAR, reading, and math and seeing where how we're doing in terms of academic growth. This isn't just do you pass STAR or not. This is showing growth from one year to the next. 1.2.1 takes a look at how we are trying to close the performance gaps as measured on Domain 3. So if you'll remember, when the state gives us our A through F rating, they take a look at Domain 1, which is performance, Domain 2, which is growth, and Domain 3, which is closing the gap. So all your different little subgroups, there's about 15 of them that they look at. How are you doing in making sure everybody, it's a rising tide, so to speak, and that everybody's doing well. We were at 96% in that Domain 3. Our target was 94, and now we've just kept it at like 96 and then up to 97 by a couple of years from now. As you get higher and higher, 96, 97, 98, it's, it's starting to get pretty lean there in terms of finding areas where we can improve. So we want to keep moving forward, but it's pretty ambitious to kind of keep it there at 97, which is our goal. I did put a little yellow note on there that this domain is likely changing after this year. And I'll come back in probably a month or two. We're waiting to get final word from the state on how they're changing the A through F accountability ratings. But we do know that Domain 3 is going to have a feature like your students that are needing accelerated learning. How are they doing? Did they improve from one year to the next? So those types of things are going to change Domain 3, and I'll brief you on that when we get final word from the state. On 1.2.2 or 1.2.2, those are where we take a look at all of, basically every STAR test that's given, how do our students do? And I put a link on this one because if I tried to cut and paste the picture, it just scrolls forever when you go onto that website because there's a lot of tests, right? There's 45 different tests if you take a look at every grade and every test. But I am happy, I kind of summarize it with the bullets there. There's 45, all of them are above the state minimum, and then 42 of the 45 are at or above our MISD targets, which are meets and masters. So doing really, really well in terms of meets grade level or above for ELAR, just reading. 1.2.3 looks at math. Again, 45, all 45 are above the state minimum, and 39 of the 45 are at or above MISD targets, which are meets or masters. So again, we've gone in and upped all of those to hit those. So when you see 39 of 45, that'll be 6 yellow squares in there. We're above state, but not quite where we want to be, so we need to move those forward. So those are the KPIs there. So I'm going to turn it over now. You've heard a lot from me. Mark's going to talk about the KPIs related to CCMR and secondary work.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. As Chris was saying, you're seeing a lot of green and a lot of yellow, which is good because MISD is so far above the state. We are accomplishing their standards, but we have set the bar a little bit higher in MISD. The next few KPIs that we're going to review quickly, you've already heard, so I'm going to review these a little bit with you. So KPI 131 is basically about CCMR, and that's making sure that we get that to a raw score of 60. We don't have actual data from this year. We did accomplish that last year. We do that by giving the TSI, the ACT, the SAT, encouraging our kids to take the AP courses, dual credit courses. And then we've also increased the number of CT offerings that we have underneath the leadership of Mrs. Vance. The next two KPIs that you see, again, it's the 132 is college ready. That's the one that we just talked about. We're increasing that to 66% by the end of the 24-25 school year. Again, that has given our students more opportunities. We are offering the PSAT to our 8th and our 10th graders. We're looking at opportunities for the SAT, the ACT for our students, always looking at how can we get more kids to take the TSI. And then also trying to make sure that they have access to the gateways that allows them to take the courses that they need to. And then in the KPI 133, this is the percent of high school students that earn the IBCs, which are the industry-based certifications. We've offered more. Each year we are looking at how many more we can offer and do it at a high level and making sure that our kids are getting the certificates that they need to be certified in the fields that they're looking at, and also preparing them for that new CT center once we have that in place here in a few years.
Dr. Weatherly, could I interrupt for a second?
Absolutely.
I want to point out on the industry-based certifications a point of pride that I'm very proud of. I'm smiling up here. I saw a few board members smiling. We more than doubled our target. We surpassed that. And if there's ever any doubt what kind of district we are, we're an evidence-based district in that you'll see the following years we've upped that to a more competitive, aspirational level. And so that's a success to me. I think, first of all, the fact that we far exceeded our benchmark, our point is a point of pride, but also the fact that we're adjusting and now we're saying we're going to shoot for the next big target. That's how we work here. And so I'm very proud of y'all for doing that, and keep it up.
Well, it takes a team. We have a wonderful team. I was going to point that out, so thank you, Dr. Fuller. We have more
Great
than
minds
doubled
think
it.
alike, and so do ours, so.
I'm sorry, sir.
Mark, what is the TSI?
That is the test.
Texas Success Initiative.
Assessment. So it's a test that you have to take to be able to take college courses in the state of Texas. There's a reading and a math.
At the high school level? Okay.
All right, and then the next one and the last one that I have is 134 and 135. 134 is just the number of students participating in at least one CTE course will increase to 95%. We have done a tremendous job in increasing the number of students that are taking our CTE courses. I will give tons of credit to Mrs. Tennyson and Mrs. Vance in our CTE department for doing a wonderful job with that. Another thing that we looked at and started doing a great job of is just making sure that our students are coded correctly in PEIMS. And so we've got several eyes that are looking at that, so I want to give kudos to the team that's doing that in our PEIMS department as well. So we're already at our 95%, so we've got students that are doing an excellent job there, and teachers who also are encouraging our kids to get into those classes. And finally, our KPI 135, the number of students who are participating in at least one advanced academics. I will tell you that from last year to this year, of course, you know that we have a new GT coordinator with Ms. Ellis, who was up here earlier and highlighting all of our students, but at each of our high schools, we have increased the number of students taking AP courses by over 200 at each campus. And so we're doing a wonderful job there. We've added a few more AP courses. We never want to get so diluted that we're not doing a great job, because we want to make sure that our kids are successful when they take those AP exams. And we think we're at a pretty good point there in our district right now. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over.
Hello. I am super excited, and I am going to be talking a little bit about early literacy and early math. And we're going to continue the celebrations. Just as a reminder, I know this is a bit redundant, but our internal targets are higher. Even for our younger learners, we want to be sure that we're creating solid foundations as early as pre-K and K, because the rigor can't start only in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. So you're going to see some yellow and some green when we talk about 3rd grade and lower for our reading and math. Our internal target was at an 85% when we looked at our 3rd grade math testers. Again, we greatly surpassed the state's expectation. However, we're still working on our higher expectations that we've set as a district. So again, we've tweaked some of the things that we're doing as a district in hopes to continue to promote those higher levels of learning and reaching the higher bar on the state standards. When we look at pre-K through 2nd grades, we actually surpassed our internal targets in reading. And if you recall last year, we shared a little bit about our literacy framework that we created as a district. That was new last year, and it is something that we're super excited about this year. We have identified each of those pillars of literacy components and specific timeframes in an effort to standardize instruction across the district. So we expect to see these numbers to continue to be at those higher levels this year as well. When we look at 3rd grade math and our end of year screeners, we did not meet our target. Now, our 2nd graders last year, if you recall, started working in Eureka Math. And so we expect to see this information continue to improve and increase. And we've added some additional grade levels this year, so we're super excited about the learning that is taking place. Again, in math, 2nd grade, 1st grade, and kindergarten, our universal screeners are higher than state expectations are, but and we have surpassed in some areas, and again, we didn't meet our targets in others. So we are working on making sure that we're continuing to provide rigor in those classrooms and addressing specific student needs. As far as curriculum and instruction and what we've done and what we're going to continue to work on, I'm sure you have heard this year the entire state gets to transition state assessments from a paper format to online assessments. So we have been working very closely with our technology department and campus leaders to make sure that we have the tools in place that are needed, as well as the training and the preparedness to make sure that the technology component doesn't take away from our students' success. By the end of this year, every teacher in kindergarten through third grade, every dyslexia interventionist, every special education teacher, every general education interventionist, all campus administration, and the assistant superintendent of elementary education, as well as many fourth grade and fifth grade teachers, will have completed the Reading Academy requirements as outlined by the state. So that's going to be a huge success. And then professional development was targeted as a need and a want for our district. So we have really put forth, CNI, but also every department has put forth a ton of efforts in providing quality professional development for our staff members this year. And then as Chris mentioned and Mark mentioned, our GT enrollment and programming, as well as our advanced academic, was really a huge initiative that we set forth after our review last year. So we're super proud of the work that's being done in that department as well. Those are just a few of the highlights, but there are a ton.
So I'll kind of wrap us up. This is one other document we just wanted to share. When we launched the strategic plan, we also partnered with that several initiatives and strategies across the district to realize the strategic plan. And this is just a summary of that. Again, a lot of them are still in progress. Some of them, quite frankly, will be in progress for quite a few more years. The green ones that you see up there, we have completed those, and then we're also in the process of sort of moving those down the list so that we keep track of the things and the landmarks that we've accomplished, and then we'll use those to set some new targets and some new aspirations over this next summer when we come together. So that's sort of a whirlwind tour of Goal 1. It's pretty big and audacious, but we're doing a great job at it. And with that, any questions for myself or Mark or Carrie?
Did the state require 4th and 5th grade teachers to take the Reading Academy, or did we just do that? Yeah,
we just did that. They just require through 3rd grade, but it's always a good thing if you can incorporate more 4th or 5th grade teachers, because we know that students might still be struggling with reading, or you might not always be a 4th or 5th grade teacher. It gives you a little bit more leeway to teach other grades as well. And I will say that's pretty good that Carrie went through it, because it was not required of folks that aren't leading a campus. And so for her to step up and do that was above and beyond as well. So kudos to her. I didn't even go through it. I sat through several of them, but I didn't do every single one of them. So that's good.
Other questions? Well, guys, keep setting the high standards for our kids, and they'll keep meeting it. Our teachers will continue to help them get there. So thank y'all for all that you've done. And I'd like to give everybody a round of applause right quick for all the work.
Thank you. Just a very quick public service announcement for our community, but you have your state tests, which are required by federal law, and almost every state has some sort of assessment, mostly in math and reading, to make sure students in public education are progressing at the levels that the state deems necessary and appropriate. The interesting thing is many states then add some sort of grading system, whether it's A through F, stars, 5 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, sometimes it's color-coded. And almost every state, if you did any one of the following 3 things, they would delay the ratings for a year. If you required all students to take the test for the first year online that first year, they would delay the ratings. Or if you actually changed the test, they would give the test, share the results, but not give the ratings. Or if you actually changed the rating system in terms of how the performance matches whatever the indicators for getting the A, B, C, or 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, they would delay the ratings. We are doing all 3 of those things this year in the great state of Texas. We are requiring all students to take these tests online. We are changing the actual tests, and we are changing the rating systems. Dr. Summers, do we yet quite know all the aspects that we need to know for the evaluation of the rating system, or exactly what the test formats will be looking like?
We know the formats of the test, but we don't know the A through F. In fact, I have a briefing next week on that, and they won't finalize it though until after spring break.
So as I understand it, it is now currently January of 2023. Our students will be taking STAR in
April and May, back into April, early May.
And so we will be asking our teachers and students to take tests that they're not quite familiar with, get ratings that we don't even know exactly how they're going to earn, and yet somehow we think in our great state this is a fair. And I just raised the point because there are over 1,100 school districts in the state of Texas. I think the vast majority have lots of issues with this. I think from what you heard tonight, much more so than just the fact that we are achieving overwhelmingly the targets we set. We set our targets far higher than the state. So, and we put color codes to everything. We out ourselves publicly. We welcome accountability. I think there's lots of reasons, though, that school districts are concerned about in 1 year when you are changing the rating system, changing the tests, and requiring all online, that there seems to be a little bit of a fairness in terms of doing the ratings that year. But we will take that under advisement, make sure as we get information, we are sharing it with our educators and our schools, and we'll update you as we learn more.
Very well said, very well said. All right, item 7C, monthly financial report. Board members, any questions? Hearing none, I would like to adjourn this meeting. The time is 7:13.